This government not only takes the piss, they do it openly and treat all of us as fools. To Mark Rishi's first year in office, the minimum time before it can happen, letters are already pouring in from Tory MPs to remove him as leader. So there could be another Tory leadership election, giving us an even more unstable government at a time when the world is literally burning due to global warming and wars. And who's going to be in the running? Suella Braverman and her far-right ideology, Penny Mordaunt, who seems to live for fighting and militarism, Boris Johnson again because he didn't bugger the country enough the first time, Liz Truss again because the economy isn't quite fucked enough. Christ almighty, even Nigel Farage has been mentioned. Both Liz Truss and Boris Johnson are entitled to £115,000 a year salary every year for the rest of their lives as ex-prime ministers. And speaking of Liz Truss and Nigel Farage, they're now rumoured to be considering a place on Armed Celebrity, which could earn them each £1 million. Jesus. Meanwhile, her predecessor, lying, cheating, partying buffoon Boris Johnson, has already been offered a slot on GB News. And if that doesn't warrant action from Ofcom, I don't know what does. A so-called news channel with Tory MPs Jacob Rees-Mogg, Esther McVeigh and Lee Anderson, as well as Brexit bastard Nigel Farage hosting shows. Farage, whose NatWest account was closed, and after all his bleating, it became apparent it was for commercial reasons. I'm just waiting for Matt Hancock to get a shot. He'll have time because he's refusing to give evidence at the COVID inquiry unless he's given immunity. Now, if that doesn't prove his guilt, I don't know what does. They should drag that bastard to the inquiry in handcuffs and threaten to inject COVID-19 into him if he won't testify. And the same should happen with Simon Case, the Cabinet Secretary at the time, who's now apparently too ill to give evidence, but not as ill as the poor fuckers with long COVID that the government won't even recognise. So what's the government actually been up to this week? Well, they've paid over £15 million for land to build facilities for migrants on. Derelict land that was bought by developers Brockwell Group for just £6 million a year ago. That's a £9 million profit in a year for some derelict land. Don't tell me there's no backhanders, probably disguised as donations going on here. But they are starting to move migrants out of hotels, or at least they are in Tory marginal seats. And talking of donations, did you know 30% of Tory party donations come from the banking sector? No surprise then that the government are going ahead with ditching the cap on bankers' bonuses. At the same time, it's been revealed that nearly 4 million people are classed as living in poverty, half of them children. Huge rises for rich people don't affect inflation the way it does when normal people earn more, because rich people don't spend their money in the UK, they hide it abroad and they don't have to pay tax. Remember levelling up? Nah, nor do they. It was just an election catchphrase. The government also failed to bring in the ban on no-fault evictions that they promised. After pressure from lobbying groups, of course. The very least they could do would be to change the law so if a landlord took advantage of a no-fault eviction, they couldn't re-rent the property for at least 5 years. We've also had Therese Coffey, the Secretary of State for Environment, who some people are cruelly calling Nelly the Effluent, telling us the reason for the floods last week was that the rain came from the wrong direction. It's rain. It comes from the fucking sky. All you're saying is you didn't put the correct protections in place. Oh, and the latest Tory MP to be suspended is Crispin Blunt. Not bullying this time, possession of drugs and rape. Just the latest after Charlie Elphick, Rob Roberts, David Warburton, Andrew Griffiths, Neil Parish, Chris Pincher and Peter Bone. It's like a club for perverts. If you want to know what this absolute shower of shit government are really up to, the stuff you won't see in mainstream media, why not subscribe and turn on notifications?